You're listening to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. This is episode 70, and today's topic is parallel universes or alternate universes. Hey everyone, Adam Muselli here. Welcome to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This podcast is released every Friday, and show notes are found at the website themindtechinstitute.com. It's all one word. Come back often and feel free to add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. All links are in the show notes and website. And now, let's get started. Is deja vu, the Mandela Effect, or even some of our dream glimpses are from a parallel universe? In this very strange world, there could be a copy of yourself making different decisions and seeing places that somehow later manifest themselves in your dreams and sometimes into your life. We already talked about if we live in a computer simulation. To know more about that, you can go back and listen to episode 67 and 68. And to know more about deja vu, you can also listen to episode 8. However, you still need to be an open-minded person to be able to understand the last several episodes and the upcoming several episodes too, which will make you really think about who we are, what we are, why we are here on Earth, and for what reason. And don't forget, next week there is no episode will be published because we take 1 week off every 10 episodes, and today's episode is number 70. Nevertheless, an open mind is required, and if you want to know more about how to become open-minded, you can simply go back to episode 60, or if you already consider yourself as an open-minded person or already listened to episode 60, you can certainly enjoy listening to this very strange episode right after we get the intro out of the way. If you're interested in learning and becoming a fully qualified hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic programming NLP practitioner and master practitioner, a life coach or a counselor, now you can study all that online. All you need to do is visit mti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com, and you'll find all these courses along with many other courses once you click on the online courses tab. All our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide, and for more information all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. Going back to our main topic, parallel universes and alternate universes or alternate realities. We're not going to talk about some parallel universe cases where people ended up in another universe or an alternate reality. But very soon, I will do an episode about the strangest cases where people woke up in a totally different world or even going somewhere and ended up in a different reality. And this episode will actually help you to understand lots of things we're going to talk about in future episodes. So, what is parallel universe or the alternate universes? They call it multiverse. It's a cosmos in which there are multiple universes. And by multiple, I mean an infinite number of them. These uncountable realms sit side by side in higher dimensions that our senses are incapable even of perceiving them directly. Yet, many astronomers and cosmologists seem to be invoking the multiverse to explain puzzling observations. The probabilities are very high. Each alternate universe carries its own different version of reality, and there is one where you're talking on this podcast and I listen to you, one where this podcast or the Mindtech Institute are some religious brainwashing cult to recruit people in believing some religious nonsense. Even some really weird ones in which chemtrails, for example, are actually good for our health. Vaccines causes autism. JFK was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald instead of the CIA, and the Twin Towers were hit by two hijacked airplanes instead of controlled demolition. Oh, wait. All that happened in our universe? Just being satirical here. Anyway, all that sounds crazy, I know. I mean, in other universes where everything is the same but slightly different. But actually, the latest piece of evidence that could favor a multiverse comes from the UK's Royal Astronomical Society. They recently published a study on the so-called cold spot, which is a cool patch of space seen in the radiation produced by the formation of the universe more than 13 billion years ago. The cold spot was first glimpsed by NASA's WMAP satellite in 2004 and then confirmed by ESA's Planck mission in 2013. It's extremely puzzling. Most astronomers and cosmologists believe that it is highly unlikely to have been produced by the birth of the universe, as it's mathematically difficult for the leading theory, which is called inflation. This latest study claims to rule out the simple explanation that the cold spot is an optical illusion produced by a lack of intervening galaxies. One of the study's authors, Professor Tom Shanks of Durham University, told the RAS, quote, "We cannot entirely rule out that the spot is caused by an unlikely fluctuation explained by standard theory of the Big Bang. But if that isn't the answer, then there are more exotic explanations. Perhaps the most exciting of these is that the cold spot was caused by a collision between our universe and another bubble universe. If further, more detailed analysis proves this to be the case, then the cold spot might be taken as the first evidence for the multiverse." End quote. And we will get to the cold spot a little bit later. Also, Stephen Hawking, in a speech in 2016, he said he thinks black holes may be pathways to other universes. So the study that was conducted by researchers at Durham University, Stephen Hawking talk, and many other researchers think they may now have the first ever proof that the multiverse really does exist. You see, the multiple verse theory or the multiverse theory proposed that in the cosmos there are multiple universes, and as I said before, by multiple I mean infinite. Basically, every action you take, every decision you make creates a completely different reality. So, right now, there could be a world out there where we lost the Second World War, or you are a Hollywood star, or even a world where Hollywood doesn't even exist. So, let's get back to the potential proof of the multiverse and the cold spot. This all started in 2004, where researchers at NASA discovered something very strange in space, and it really confused them. What they discovered was an unusually cold region. I mean, space is already cold, very cold, but this very region was 1.8 billion light years across and colder than its surroundings. Like I said, this was very confusing to astronomers because it was impossible for them to explain it mathematically. At the time, researchers thought that particular region was colder because it had 10,000 less galaxies than other areas of roughly the same size, and thus creating a void. But this, according to the new study, researchers now think it's colder because It's caused by another universe sort of colliding or merging into ours. And because of the force of the impact, energy was pushed out of the region, thus making that particular area colder. And if you remember earlier quoting what Professor Tom Shanks, the astronomer at Durham University, and who is a co-author of the study, he said, and this is all really exciting because if this is true, the cold spot is the first evidence of multiverse. End quote. So, if parallel universes do indeed exist, a lot of things just make more sense, like the whole Mandela Effect thing where a huge portion of the population remembers something so vividly that didn't really happen, or recalled something vividly that wasn't really the case. But I don't want to get into that now because that alone needs 2 or 3 episodes, and I have to explain the psychology in some cases just to be fair, because some of the Mandela Effect cases are confabulation, which is a psychology term for a constructed or fabricated memory. But we'll talk about all that in due time in the Mandela Effect episode very, very soon. Now, and briefly, I'll explain the whole parallel universe simply so we don't take much time and to keep this episode around 20 minutes time. The word, the universe, the terminology, physicists speaking informally often say universe when they really mean observable universe. And that is the part of the whole universe that we've so far been able to see or observe. And sure, scientifically speaking, we can talk about multiple different observable universes. For example, let's say an alien near the edge of our observable universe will see parts of the whole universe that we cannot yet see. But that's a well understood question and not what physicists normally talk about when they discuss the multiple observable universes or multiverses. So in physics, the word multiverse normally refers to one of 3 distinct and largely unrelated proposed physical models for the universe. The 3 multiverse models are type 1, which is called bubble universe or baby black hole universes. This is the most, let's say, straightforward kind of multiverse. The basic idea is that perhaps there are other parts of the universe which are so far away that we will never see them, or are inside black holes very similar, but we will never see them or be able to see them. This kind of model was created as an attempt to explain why our universe is so good at making stars and galaxies and black holes and life. As the argument goes, if each of these separate, mutually invisible bubbles in the universe had slightly different laws of physics, then by definition, we could only exist in one that had the right physical laws to allow us to exist. And that was type 1 multiverse. But type 2 multiverse is membranes and extra dimensions. This inspired in part by the inability in the mathematics of string theory to predict the right number of dimensions for the universe in which we live. String theorists propose that the idea that perhaps what we think of our universe is actually just a 3-dimensional surface embedded within a larger superuniverse with 9 spatial dimensions. It's sort of like how each page of a book is its own 2-dimensional surface embedded within our three-dimensional world. And of course, if space had 9 dimensions rather than 3, there would be plenty of space for other three-dimensional surfaces that appeared like ours to be universe in their own right, but like the pages of the book, we're actually part of a bigger whole. These kinds of surfaces are called membranes or branes for short. Now, multiverse type 3, the many worlds picture of quantum mechanics. Surprisingly, physicists still don't fully understand how the collapse of the wave function in quantum mechanics happens. And the many world hypothesis makes an attempt at explanation by proposing that every possible alternate timeline for the universe is real, and they all happen in an ever larger, ever branching way, like a universal choose your own future or destiny, if that's what you want to call it, where every possible story happens. If this were the case, we might not realize it because would be stuck living out just one of the infinitely many possible lives available to us. In some ways, many worlds is similar to the bubble multiverse model by proposing maybe anything that can happen does. And we just happen to exist in the series of happenings that were necessary for us to exist. Of course, if you want to get imaginative, you could also combine several of these models together into a multiverse, a new super speculative model based itself on speculative and experimentally unconfirmed models. But that's not to say we couldn't test these multiverse hypotheses. For example, if our observable universe were really just of many disconnected bubbles or membranes, and if it happens to collide with another bubble or membrane sometimes in the past, then that collision would certainly have had some sort of effect on what we see when we look up at the night sky. On the other hand, the many worlds interpretation might be tested fairly soon, since experimentalists are becoming increasingly able to manipulate and control ever larger quantum mechanical systems in their labs. And that is happening if you don't already know. How? Well, if you've been keeping up, especially for the last few episodes, you probably have guessed it. CERN, the Large Hadron Collider LHC, where they're doing all sort of experiments on black holes and other experiments, which led many to believe that those experiments are responsible for the Mandela Effect, or merging other universes or realities into ours. But we will do a whole episode about CERN very soon. And with that being said, let's wrap it up at this. And next week would be our break, so there won't be any episode till the week after, and we'll have another very interesting topic. And once again, if you would like to study and become a fully qualified hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic programming NLP practitioner and master practitioner, a life coach or a counselor, now you can study all that online. All you have to do is visit mti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com, and you'll find all these courses along with many other courses. Once you click on the online courses tab, all our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide, and for more information all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, as usual, you can email me. The email is on our website, themindtechinstitute.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube. The Dynamic Thinking Project podcast is released every Friday. Until next time, Take care and enjoy your weekend. This is Adam Muselli signing out.